Well, good morning, everyone. Let's open with a word of prayer. Oh, our gracious Heavenly Father, I just want to thank you for today. And Lord, I just thank you for your word and what it teaches us. And Lord, you are the creator of our bodies, and you made us, and you have a design for us, and you have a plan. You have a way you would want us to eat. You want us to take care of our bodies. And so, Lord, I just pray that you'll help us to learn a few of these things. And Lord, I just pray that you would open our hearts to teach us what you have for us today. And I thank you for all these things in Jesus' name. Amen. Okay, so we have a topic today. And so it's going to be a lot of discussion and stuff today. Our topic today is balance. So I first of all want to talk about how that relates to God. So first of all, when we look at God and his characteristics, what he's like, we know he's a God of love, but he's also a God of what?
Justice.
Justice. There's a balance, isn't there? There's a balance. There's blessing and there is
Curses.
We see balance everywhere we look around, not only in the character of God, but in the world around us. God created light and he created darkness. We see something that's full. There's also something that's
Empty.
When we're talking about in a court, there's those that are justified and those that are condemned, right? In the New Testament especially, we learn a lot about law and
Grace.
The two different sides. We learn about faith and
Fear.
works, right? Faith and works. Good and bad. Or good and evil, whatever. All of these different things that are out there. There's also a balance that God created in each one of us. It's called homeostasis is the word that they use in the medical terms, homeostasis. But there is a balance between everything. One of the balances that I'm sure you've heard of is the acid-alkaline balance.
Yeah.
And that is so important. If your body gets too much toward either one of the extremes, you're having problems. So we see this, that's so important. And God created each one of us this way, and our bodies are designed to stay in balance. And because of that, if we do something that gets it a little bit out of balance.
I'm gonna get your face back in there.
Oh, do I need to move back? Is that better?
Ooh. Okay, you're good.
Okay. Okay, so if we do something to get it out of balance, our body, God designed our body to do what it can to try to get us back in balance. And for the most part, it works until we get too much of something in there and our body can't fix it fast enough. And then it starts doing other things that are not good. Who has seen this? Anyone got an example of some of this? Diabetes. Things get out of balance. You get too much of the sugars and it throws the system out. It can't balance itself, right? Anyone else?
Insulin resistance.
Insulin resistance. That insulin is coming and coming and coming, and it can't get into those cells because they're not balanced. The cells are not able to let the bad stuff out so that that good stuff can get in. That's an imbalance.
Autoimmune diseases.
That's a good example of it, because the body that's supposed to be doing certain things, it starts attacking its own.
Yeah.
It's not supposed to do that, is it? It's supposed to attack the bad guy.
Well, that's my A negative blood.
What was that?
My A negative blood, if the baby's blood was positive, then I would have to have a shot before the baby was born and then after the baby was born. Because my body would attack it like a foreign body.
Yeah. We see all of these kinds of examples out there of this kind of thing. And
Also mentally, chemically imbalanced.
Yes.
It affects the moods and the mind.
you see that especially with women, especially different times of the month. The imbalance of our hormones causes different things to happen.
Yes.
Yeah. There's a lot of that going on out there. One of the things that's been going through my mind is this thought that too much of a good thing can be a bad thing.
Absolutely.
It can be. You know, we tend to think, oh, this is good for me, so we dump it on thinking, oh, I can have this, yum, yum, yum. And then it turns to be a bad thing. And I thought, this might be a good thing to bring up before Thanksgiving, that yes, we're going to have some good things at Thanksgiving, but too much of them can lead to gluttony. And the Bible talks about against gluttony, doesn't it? So here's another balance that God has. He talks about feasting. He has feasts that he has prescribed. He wants us to feast. But on the other side, he says, don't be a glutton.
And don't overdrink.
Right,
And don't
same
overdrink.
thing.
It's
Yeah.
not bad to have one glass, but
Right.
don't go for 5.
Not in excess.
Yeah.
Not in excess. You know, we've all heard, I'm sure, in the news in the last few years, there's been a couple of people that I know of that died from too much water.
Yes.
We have to have water. But, like this says, too much of it, and it becomes a bad thing.
Oh, wasn't that the college students that were, okay, I can drink more water than you can drink? Kind of battle going on? Yeah, they
Yes, Sean.
Didn't God prescribe fasts also?
He did.
Yes.
So there's feasting and there's fast. In fact, a lot of them were fasting at least once a week. Like on the Sabbath, they do a Sabbath fast. They wouldn't work, they wouldn't eat on the Sabbath. That wasn't everyone that did that, but a lot of times that was a very common thing. And then you had the Sadducees and the Pharisees and stuff that would do multiple.
You know, that's what I've been doing, but it's intermittent fasting. Basically what I do is I'll get up in the morning and I'll have my breakfast around 7. I will eat at 3:30, 4 o'clock in the afternoon, and I won't eat anything after that. I'll drink some water or maybe have a glass of decaf tea or something, but I won't eat anything after 4. And it's been working. And with the special, you know, and then I eliminated almost all the sugars out of my diet. So it's really
Intermittent fasting.
Intermittent
very
fasting.
beneficial for the body. Yeah. So God has put several different systems in our body that help to keep it in balance. One of the two of the main organs that help our body stay in balance are the kidneys and the liver. They're very important. And we have in our church, we have so many people that are having issues with both those organs. So another disease that's coming up that was not really talked about, and you didn't really hear much about it until lately, it's called non-alcoholic fatty liver disease.
Yeah.
And you used to only hear a cirrhosis of the liver only happened to alcoholics. But now it's becoming a common thing. I remember a few years ago, a gal that I knew, she didn't know what, she was not feeling well. She went to the doctor and he says, you have cirrhosis of the liver. She goes, but I've never drank. I never drank. And eventually she died of liver cancer. But things were leading to this. something else that just happened to me this year was that I was trying to take care of my health, and I thought I was doing some really good things for it. I went on a detox. It was called a green smoothie detox, and I was okay during the detox, but shortly after, all of a sudden, I started gaining weight and putting on inches. Like, what is going on? And I've just recently had some testing done and found out I had too much greens, and the greens were putting this toxic load on my liver because too much was coming in and the liver couldn't take care of it all at one time. And so, just a minute, when the liver can't take care of it at one time, it stores it in the fat. And that's one reason I was gaining weight, was because it kept storing the stuff that it couldn't get rid of fast enough. It would store it in my fat. So I want to talk about this.
My thyroid pulls out vitamin D, my bad thyroid pulls out vitamin D really fast, right? So I started taking a lot of vitamin D. And I mean, you know, one of them small ones and one of them oil ones, you know, I was taking, and the doctor said, you're taking too much vitamin D, you're giving yourself a fatty liver.
Yeah. And we've heard of people getting overloads of vitamin D, and there's been in the news a couple of people dying from taking too much vitamin D. That's what happens when we take too much of a good thing. Yes, we need those things, but if we have too much of them, then the body's got to figure out what to do with them. Now, our kidneys are really important because the kidneys, when things come through, it takes them out and it says, oh, this system over here, it needs some vitamin C, so it sends the vitamin C over there. Oh, this over here needs some vitamin B, and it sends the vitamin B over that direction. Oh, this one over here, it needs something, and it's the one, it channels the stuff to where it's supposed to go.
Yeah.
But it also does another thing, like if I took too much vitamin C, and it was more than it needed right then, the kidneys can't store it. So the kidneys then send it right down the offshoot, right down, it gets rid of it. Eliminate it from your body if you don't need it right then. But then it doesn't have it. If you don't take it again later, then it doesn't have it when it needs it, necessarily. It's one of those things that the kidneys are very important in sending to the different parts of the body where it needs.
And
It manages the nutrients that are coming in.
and toxins.
Then there's also the liver. And the liver, one of the things it more does with is deals with toxins. It helps eliminate the toxins out of your system and gets rid of them through your bile and it flushes them. But the problem, there's some problems with that. One of the problems is they're finding out that a lot of people have what's called leaky gut. And when you have leaky gut, that when the liver tries to eliminate them through, your system, that your body has these leaks in the gut, and some of those things that it was trying to get rid of, instead of going out, come back in. And they're saying sometimes even not 85% can be coming back in. So if your body's trying to eliminate it and you're getting 85% back, then it comes back to the liver again. That's one of the problems that's leading to this fatty liver, is that it can't eliminate it fast enough because it keeps coming back. And it has to filter it all over again, saying, I need to get rid of it. And so what's it do with what it can't get rid of? It stores it. And it keeps storing it all over. And that's why we have all of this stuff it's not only in the liver, which leads to the fatty liver, but then when it can't fit in the liver, it starts putting in any place else in our system that we have back. And that's where it gets stored. And yes, Sean?
I read that fructose is processed exclusively in the liver, So all of these products that are sweetened with high fructose corn syrup, it's like a bomb for your liver.
Yes, it is.
It's just-
Because if it gets on overload trying to manage the high fructose corn syrup from that drink that we just had or whatever, then it can't do the other things. And it's got all of these toxins. What do I do with all of these? Only so much can go out through the bile. Only so much can go out. What do I do with the rest of it? And it keeps storing it. And that is one of the things that's leading to people gaining weight. It's one of the things that's leading to people getting sick because all of these toxins, instead of being eliminated, it can't eliminate them fast enough, and so it starts storing them. So anything can be a bad thing if it's too much. And one of the things with the liver that I've been finding out is that you've got to really decrease anything you can to take the burden off the liver so that it can start getting those things out, because it'll first of all get them out of the liver, and then it'll start pulling them out of your fat where it's stored them.
Yeah.
You want to get it out, but you got to repair that leaky gut so it doesn't reabsorb, and then you've got to slow down stuff that's leading to this. I took a class several years ago on things that could be done for cancer and natural things that you could do for cancer. One of the things that they found that was so helpful with cancers, certain kinds specifically, I can't remember right now which ones specifically were the best, but they found that high-dose vitamin C was very beneficial because vitamin C looks very much like glucose. Yeah, because your cancer feeds on glucose. Yeah, the sugars. And so it looks so much like it that it would take it into the cancer cells, and then they were finding out that the cancer cells were dying from the inside out. It was going in there and then just exploding the cancer and dying from the inside out. But the man that found this out, his wife had cancer, and he thought, I want to get this and eliminate this from her system. And what ended up happening was he gave her too much, and she ended up dying. Not from the cancer, but because too much vitamin C did other things in her system that shut other things down, because your system has to have this balance. And if it has too much of one thing, then it's got to do something. If your heart is having issues, the body is going to do what it can to protect that heart. It will start shutting down extremes.
Yeah.
You've seen that in different people. Because it's protecting the main organs, the things that are going to keep you alive. And it'll do anything it can to protect that. Well, this too much vitamin C, I can't remember now, it's been several years since I studied that. It did something else in her system to throw something way out of whack, and that's what ended up killing her, not the cancer. It was attacking the cancer, and the cancer was dying, but there was too much of it at one time in her system, and it overloaded her system. Anything can overload your system, good or bad. And so we have to be very careful. We're going to be probably overeating at Thanksgiving more than we should eat at one time. One of the things that you could do to help you and help your system is to eat smaller amounts and go back for seconds later, not right then. Just extend it out so it doesn't go into your system all at once.
And have a nice large glass of water with lemon juice in it before you eat dinner. Then you kind of, it's easier to gauge yourself. And then when you're full, stop.
Yeah. If you can do that, that would help. Some of that will help. I know it just tastes so good at Thanksgiving, all those goodies that we don't usually get, and so they taste so good.
Pumpkin pie.
Yeah. So anyway, but I wanna caution you about that. Just if you can, Just limit the amount at a time. One thing that I was shocked, I've been having sugar issues for ever since high school or at least college, way back. And so I've been eating a lot more protein, which is really good for your system versus the carbs. I've been limiting my carbs and eating more proteins. Well, I found out that if you have more than like 6 to 8 ounces at one serving, your body can't handle that. It's too much for your system at one time. You can have that much amount throughout the day, but not at one sitting. And what happens if you have it at one sitting? Then it turns it into glucose. So it turns it into a sugar.
Getting gout eventually too.
Yeah. The gout is from especially certain kinds of proteins.
Yeah.
Your body doesn't know how to handle all those proteins and can't digest all those proteins. And so it leads to gout, where it starts crystallizing it and storing it in your different joints. So yeah, we need to be careful. Does anyone have questions about some of this?
All right, I have a question.
Yes.
Half the time I'm not hungry. Most of the time I'm not hungry, and so how do you make yourself hungry? If you have to have something, right?
Well, you have to
But
have
then-
something, but you don't necessarily most of the time have to make yourself hungry. There are certain extreme instances when you do, but fasting is not bad. It's not. It's actually a good thing. And they're finding out that fasts, different kinds of fasts, can really turn your health around. One of the reasons they do that is all of a sudden that when your body was getting too much in, it lets the liver start getting more out, lets the kidneys start getting more out, starts pulling it out of your fat and get rid of it, all those toxins that it's been storing. Fasting is really good for that. Sometimes your body naturally knows that. Sometimes when you're sick, like you have the flu or you have something, a really bad cold or something like that, sometimes you won't feel hungry at all. And that's good because your system's trying to, all those toxins that were hitting your system, making you sick, it's trying to eliminate them. And so that's one way it can eliminate them is by you not eating, not being hungry, and then it can flush more things out.
Most of us eat out of habit based on the clock than actual hunger.
Right.
And there's a lot to be said for when fat got demonized, fat got demonized as leading to heart disease and sugar got deified. That had a bunch of severe consequences.
It did. A bunch of severe consequences.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
But the interesting thing is we didn't really have a big problem with obesity before that happened.
Right. We didn't. And now they're starting to, you start listening to some of the stuff out there, they're saying, oh, we were wrong. And they start saying, the fats are necessary. You know, that they're really necessary. One of the things they do is help satiate us and keep us full. The fats and proteins, those things help keep us full so that we don't feel hungry and we don't get hungry and we eat less. What happens when you start eating sugar?
Oh, you can't get enough.
You can't get enough. You just keep eating.
I remember when I was a child, my mom hated cereals. For some reason, we never got, the fun foods, like the Cheerios and all that. Well, she said, well, I'll buy a box for the kids. Well, I would remember having breakfast at 7, and I put a nice big bowl of Cheerios, and I ate them. And about 2 hours later, I was starved. And I never got full. So I went back to eating eggs with Mom.
I remember as a kid growing up, If I had cereal in the morning, I had a hard time making it to lunchtime when I was at school because I'd be so hungry. And we didn't have time to sit down to eat the eggs and stuff like that. So I found out it's not so good for me. I mean, maybe it's intermittent fasting, but I found out if I didn't eat, I did better. I could make it to lunch, no problem, if I didn't eat. But if I ate cereal, then I was starved.
It just does a number on your body.
But that works really well for the cereal manufacturers.
Oh yeah, they're happy with that.
Oh, yeah.
I mean,
They're happy with that.
when I, because I've been doing the intermittent fasting too, and the only time I have a problem when I actually start to feel, let's call it desperately hungry, is if I've had too much sugar the previous day. Not carbs necessarily, but specifically sugar. Then there are times when it's like, oh, my stomach is doing, the cha-cha-cha, and it's like, it gets a little hard to get past that. But you can get past it.
You can.
Yeah, just eat some cottage cheese.
But if you're eating though, you're not fasting.
The thing is with fasting, I realized that I do my fasting during the late, from 4 o'clock all the way till morning. So I'm going to be sleeping that part of that fast anyway. And I just drink lots of fluids at night, lemon juice and water, or I'll have a cup of decaf, Constant Comment, or a chamomile tea, and I'll maybe use a little stevia, but very little. And I'm fine, and then when I get up in the morning, I'm not hungry until about 7. So I'll get up at 6:30, run around, clean up my bedroom and get everything going. Then I'm going to have to make breakfast. And about 7:30, then I'm starting to feel actually a little hungry. And then I'll have my steel-cut oats with my oat beverage, oat milk.
Okay.
And it works.
Something else I was reading yesterday, and I just thought I just printed it out, just a little article here. And it's on the role of exercise in weight loss. And it says finding the right balance of cardio and strength training. So even in our exercise, there needs to be balance. Balance is everywhere in life. Even in the Bible, I think of predestination. I think there's a balance. We hear about the two extremes out there, whereas the free will of man on one side, and the other side is that God predestines, the foreknowledge of God. You get the two extremes in there. I really believe the balance is where it's really, what God really has is the balance. And understanding, yes, they're both there, but God doesn't take either one of them to the extreme. They're both used in how He brings us to salvation, but He doesn't go to the extremes, and that's the ones that are, oh, you're this side or you're that side. No, I think God's in the middle, and that's what I think is so important. But let me read this one really quickly. Exercise is a fundamental component of any successful weight loss journey. Whether you're just starting or looking to enhance your current routine, finding the right balance between cardiovascular, cardio, and strength training exercises is key to maximizing results. In this blog post, we will explore the roles of cardio and strength training in weight loss, their unique benefits, and how combining them can create an effective and sustainable fitness regime. Understanding cardiovascular exercise. Cardiovascular exercises, often referred to as cardio, are activities that elevate your heart rate and keep it elevated for an extended period of time. Some popular forms of cardio include running, cycling, swimming, and aerobics. The primary aim of cardio is to burn calories and improve cardiovascular health. So the benefits of cardio for weight loss. Calorie burn. Cardio activities are excellent for burning calories, helping create a calorie deficit necessary Training improves your endurance and stamina, allowing you to engage in more extended and intense workouts. And then stress reduction. Cardio exercises release endorphins, reducing stress and promoting a positive mindset during your weight loss journey. Then for strength training, also known as resistance or weight training, involves using resistance to strengthen and build muscles. This form of exercise includes lifting weights, using resistance bands, or performing body weight exercises like push-ups or squats. So some of the benefits. Increased lean muscle mass. Building lean muscle mass contributes to a higher resting metabolic rate, helping you to burn more calories even at rest. Fat loss. Strength training stimulates fat loss while preserving muscle mass, preventing the loss of muscle during weight loss. Then there's toning and definition. Strength training helps shape and define your muscles, giving you a toned and sculptured look. And enhanced bone health. Regular strength training can improve bone density, reducing the risk of osteoporosis. Well, what about combining them? Well, burn calorie and fat. The combination of cardio and strength training maximizes calorie and fat burning during workouts. They boost metabolism. Building muscle through strength training boosts your metabolism, strengthening the long-term weight management. They optimize body composition. Cardio and strength training together improve body composition by reducing fat mass and increasing lean muscle mass. They prevent plateaus. Combining both forms of exercise keeps your body challenged, preventing weight loss plateaus. Improved overall fitness. Cardio and strength training contribute to a well-rounded fitness routine, improving your overall physical capabilities. So, creating an effective routine. 1, set realistic goals. Determine your weight loss and fitness goals to tailor your exercise routine accordingly. Prioritize safety. Warm up before each workout and use proper form during strength training exercises to prevent injuries. Include variety. Mix up your workouts with different forms of cardio and strength training to keep things engaging and effective. And listen to your body. Pay attention to how your body responds to exercise and adjust your routine as needed to avoid overtraining or burnout. Conclusion. Exercise plays a crucial role in weight loss, and finding the right balance between cardio and strength training can optimize your results. Cardio helps burn calories and improve cardiovascular health, while strength training builds lean muscle mass and enhances metabolism. By combining both forms of exercise in a well-designed fitness routine, you can create a powerful weight loss strategy that not only sheds pounds, but also improves your overall health and fitness. Remember, consistency, dedication, and a positive mindset are key to achieving your weight loss goals and embracing a healthier, happier lifestyle. So, our balance is found everywhere. Something just came to my mind while I was reading that, and
Maybe the muscle
it
mass.
passed right on through.
Yes, the reason why when people who are really, really overweight and they're doing and they're building their muscles is because muscle burns calories really,
Yes.
really fast.
It does.
And that's why they can lose weight more super fast than somebody who's thinner.
Are just sitting around. They, with a lot of, when I was in the nursing home, and we had some really obese people, I mean, incredibly. One person had this bed, they had to have 4 guys come in, big pesky guys, put his bed down, and what we did every day, because he couldn't get out of bed, he was like about 450, 500 pounds, we would let him bounce on the bed. And he would start bouncing on the bed, and within 6 months, he had lost almost all the weight.
Wow.
I mean, because we started him out bouncing on the bed, then the exercise director would come in and start doing little exercises. And of course, he was on a well-balanced diet. He was out of balance for, 150 pounds. He would just eat that little bit and he'd exercise every day. So it's amazing what you can do.
Right.
There's no, I don't care how badly out of shape you are, you can get back and you can get that back.
Okay, another question for you. Is the balance, what's the balance for me? Is that the same as for you?
Probably not.
No.
No, it isn't. Everyone's different, and so we have to be paying attention to our own bodies. Do our bodies have warnings to let us know when things are out of balance? What are some of the warnings?
They, for extreme fatigue,
Okay.
when I used to go out and do the long visits, I used to run, marathons, and I just loved running. But I knew on a day that I was coming down with a cold, is I would be extremely tired, and I just couldn't hardly move. And on those days, you take a nap instead of go out and run. So I learned to do the naps or just a rest day where I just lay around and read a paper or watch a movie or something else. And, until I started feeling better. And then by the next or two days off, I would be able to go out and do my little 3 or 4 mile jog and get my work done and whatever. But, your body will tell you. When you're tired, you need to rest.
There are warning systems that come on. One of the things is all of a sudden you're gaining weight. That's one of the things. You're tired. All of these things start happening. You can start seeing things like liver spots show up or deposits in your skin. Like, where did that come from? It's showing you that your body is on overload from something, and so it can't eliminate everything, so it starts putting it all over your body in weird places. And so you start finding things like that going on. But it's not the same for every person, and one of the reasons is, I might be able to eat one food and you can't eat that same food, partly because my system is a different place, and maybe my liver and your liver are not got the same amount of toxins, and what would overtax my liver might not overtax your liver, or vice versa. All of these things are going on, and so, but when we start noticing things that are not normal, it's a warning sign. It's a warning sign. It doesn't mean it's the end of everything, like you're gonna die. It means it's a warning. You need to start thinking, what could have led to this? Like when I got started putting on all this weight, I started thinking, what did I do to change? The only thing I could think of that I had changed in my lifestyle was doing that diet where I was having all those green smoothies, and it sounded like a great thing. I wasn't eating a lot of meats, I wasn't eating a lot of proteins. It was all vegetables. It was good for me, I thought, and doing all of this, but it threw my system out of balance, and some stuff that was already in there, it was already kind of plugged up, and then it added more stuff to it that the body couldn't eliminate, and that's what happened. And we need to start thinking about those things, okay? What happened? Sometimes it's an easy fix. Sometimes it is not an easy fix. Things with the liver are not always an easy fix. Like I was saying about if we have leaky gut and the liver dumps a bunch of stuff and 85% comes back in, we have not really eliminated hardly anything.
Yeah.
And because of that, sometimes it can take some people years to clean out everything that the liver's been storing over time. The longer it's been being stored, the longer it's going to be to get it out. Some things can get eliminated quickly. If it's just something in your colon that just needs to get cleaned out, that can get eliminated fairly quickly. But some things like the liver, when they start storing it in your fat and everything else, it can take a long time. Same thing with the kidneys. Kidneys can take a long time. We have a lot of people in our church that are on dialysis. And it can fix. I've known people that have gotten off of dialysis because they started fixing things and then their kidneys were able to function again. But not everyone does that. Most people don't.
They just keep on doing it.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm
Most
gonna have
people
that food.
But I want you to see that when things start happening, God designed our bodies to repair themselves until they get to a certain point where they can't do it anymore. They get so toxic they can't function, and then we have to do something to help them. Sometimes it's a detox that can help get some of that stuff moving and out of the system. We need sometimes some help getting that figured out. But God designed our bodies for the most part. That's why, for the most part, you don't see it's happening more and more. It didn't used to happen until the last several years here. You didn't used to see children with cancer. Not a lot of cancer. It happened occasionally, but it wasn't the common thing. Cardiovascular disease was not a common thing because it takes time for things to build up in your system. If you're not eliminating them, it takes time because God designed your system to be able to handle it. And when you're young and you don't have all that extra stuff, your body can handle it for the most part. But as time goes on and it builds up, it can get to the tipping point where all of a sudden it can't do it anymore.
Well, it's like probably about the immune diseases.
Mm-hmm.
They were very, very rare in the 30s and 40s. They were very rare. People weren't near as allergic to things that they are now. And
I don't even think there were autoimmune diseases back then.
well, they
If
probably
they had a different name for it.
They didn't have
They
diagnosis.
really, it's a modern disease.
Yeah.
Even in the 60s, let's see, actually 70s, because I was born in 65, but I rarely saw an obese child.
Right.
All the children were thin.
We were stitched.
But then again, back then we were able to run in the woods and build tree houses, and we were always on the run doing things.
But also, there wasn't the processed foods as much back then as there are now.
No, we had
And those
everything.
processed foods are loaded with toxins.
What about soda?
Oh,
I mean,
Soda was
when I was a
awful.
kid, the Kool-Aid package said to put like 2 cups of sugar in, and I know my mom probably only did half that.
Yeah, well, they shot by sugar.
And pop was something we didn't have all the time either.
Mhm.
And yet nowadays, or
That's a
juice for that
we
matter,
didn't have
Yeah.
juice.
Mm-hmm.
So
That stuff was treats back
My
then.
mom
it was
Yes.
treats back then.
Yes.
Now it's not a treat.
Yeah, my mom said she never allowed to have juice in the house. She said, we have apples out in the tree, we have all these, I have vegetables, you can eat them, but I don't want you filling up with that stuff so you don't eat your meal.
Right.
So we never had juice at all at home. We had oranges in the winter and apples in the fall and berries in the summer,
Mm-hmm.
because that was what we had.
The other thing children
And
are
we just
getting,
drank lots of water and of course I had to have my coffee. I started drinking coffee when I was about 8.
Oh, goodness.
but kids nowadays, I mean, when I was growing up, if I had a glass of orange juice, it was a fresh squeezed orange, and that was it. Now they have all this sugar-free stuff that they give to the children with chemicals in it, and they're way worse than what the natural sugar would have been. And all of these candies and everything that are made with, sugar-free. And children who are developing are drinking diet sodas and all that because it's in the house, that's what their mother drinks, it's in the refrigerator, the kids drink it. And I think that that's a real tough thing for them too.
Did God design our bodies to run on chemicals?
No.
No. You know, we see through, right after, you know, with Adam and Eve, he gave them all of the fruits of the trees and the plants and all of that. It wasn't till after the flood that all of a sudden they were able to eat meat then. But he didn't ever design our bodies to run on chemicals. And there are so many chemicals out there that are getting added to our food. And then that's one reason that we're having the toxic livers and the kidneys, is because it doesn't know what to do with it. It's not the normal. The other thing I'm just going to bring up here, because we're getting down on time, is that can also come to us through our supplements, whether they're nutritional supplements or whether they're prescribed things. They're chemical. And yes, they will do things in our body, but especially prescriptions. Does anyone know what an LD50 is, what that means?
Nope, I don't take any.
In order for a prescription drug to be able to be released, it goes through a lot of testing, and they test it on all kinds of things until they come up with an LD50. That means lethal dose 50%. That means if 50% of the rats that they're using it on die at this percent, then they back it up and say, okay, we just won't give that much, and we'll give a lower dose, and that should be okay for most people. And that's what they use as the prescription. And that's why every single year, thousands of people die from properly prescribed drugs. Because, yes, it's good for most people, but not everyone's the same. And so, therefore, some people, that what is safe for some people will be lethal for other people. And that happens with every single prescription.
And like blood thinner, Coumadin is actually rat poison.
It is.
And my mother used to say, how do you expect me to feel good? I'm on rat poison. You know? and she had a point. You know? Yeah.
So
you all like it.
So I want you to think about that too. You know, you might be, this is another thing you need to think about with balance. Every single prescription drug out there deplete, the way it works, to fix something, to take away a certain symptom, it depletes the body of something else. And if you're not replacing what's being depleted, then you're going to run into some problems. Okay?
Yeah.
Every single drug has things that it depletes. Yes, it might help this area, but in the process of helping this area, it depletes this area over here. And you need to be careful. I know when Martin started on some of his heart medications, you know, I started reading through some of them. Okay, this one depletes CoQ10, so I gotta put CoQ10 in. This one depletes
Potassium.
Potassium, he has to have potassium. This one here depletes
Vitamin D.
so he's got to have some of that. You know, and all of these different things, you need to be consciously replacing what's being depleted. Because the body needs to stay in homeostasis. One other thing I want to bring up is there has been a big push for, I don't want my body to be acidic. It's too acidic, I want to bring it back toward the balance of the alkaline level. So therefore I'll take a bunch of alkaline water. Okay? There is a problem with that too. Because the body wants to stay in homeostasis, okay?
Yeah.
And so when you start drinking a lot of alkaline, the body does something. When it gets that starting to come into the system, then it starts dumping more acid in.
Yes.
To try to balance it. And that in itself can lead to more imbalance because you were trying to fix it because it was too acidic. And so you drink the alkaline and then it pours in more acid. It defeats the purpose a lot. There's other things that we need to start thinking about. Okay, we need to do it in a more minimal way rather than the extreme. Do it more minimally. Just like I'm having to work on my liver, get things out in a slow manner. The alkaline acid balance in your system has the same thing. It's got to be a slow fix. You don't want to go to an extreme saying, well, I want to avoid this, so I'm going to go here. So it doesn't just equalize out. The body actually dumps more acid in. So you need to be very careful at a lot of these things. Is there anything else that someone has a question about in one of these areas?
All through your talk today, I kept thinking to myself, the Bible says everything in moderation.
It does.
Yeah.
Everything, you read through the Bible, God has a balance and an order. I can't think right now. I think it's in the Psalms where he goes there. There's a time for everything under the sun, a time for
Ecclesiastes.
Ecclesiastes. And it was going through my head, but I couldn't think of exactly where it was. But yeah, there's a time for everything. It's always a balance. God has a balance for everything. And so when you're getting ready for Thanksgiving, think of that a little bit. I know there's going to be some good food out there. I'm not saying don't eat the good food. What I'm saying is think about moderation, and maybe you can have some now and some a little bit later instead of just that much. If you put that much food into your system, it's going to slow down the digestion. And if it slows it down too much, it's going to ferment. That's not good.
And you're going to be
So just try to eat smaller amounts, and then you can go back for more later, rather than just in one sitting and say, this is going to be my meal for the day. Boom.
buying your milk for the year.
That's not good. That's not good to have it all in one sitting. So anyway.
Dolly Parton, I remember, she used to fill up her plate with, whatever she was having for dinner. She'd say, okay, it all looks so good, but I'm going to take this portion of it, and she'd, cut it in half or a quarter or whatever, and she'd push it to the side, and she says, that part's for God, and I'm only going to eat the rest. I'm giving that part to God, and I'll eat the rest.
If you're going out to a restaurant or something, sometimes the restaurants, very few of them, do the small portions, but most of them do the large portions. One of the best things you can do for yourself is cut it in half, eat half now, take the rest home for later.
Leftovers are good.
Like a pasta is really bad. They'll put on your plate enough for 4 servings for a person. So you cut your little serving out and you get the one of those little plastic containers and put it all in there, close it up, and eat just that little portion and you're a whole lot ahead. Because they just overload your plate. And pasta's cheap.
Yeah.
And it's really high in carbs. You don't want to overdo it anyway.
Right. Something that would be a good thing to look at is when you're buying a packaged thing or something, what is the serving size? Serving size.
Yes.
I know I started, when Mom came to live with me, I started making oatmeal, and I was making a half a cup for each one. I wasn't paying attention till I read the instructions. A serving size is 1/3 of a cup.
Yes.
So I started backing it up. So yes, you might need to just adjust it a little bit. And some of it, if we do it without thinking, then we can overeat because we don't know what a serving size is. If you're doing meat, 4 to 6 ounces of meat is plenty at a serving.
It's like
Like I said, if you go much over that,
yeah.
it's going to turn it
It's how
into
much
glucose anyway.
protein you should have. Meat is a palm of your hand instead of
So for a man, it would be bigger.
Yeah,
a little bigger for a man, and smaller for me.
Everybody's palm
Palm
is different
different.
size.
Yeah.
So if you think of a palm of your hand, that's how much you should have, because that's for you. And like my palm is a lot smaller than yours, so I'm not gonna eat as much as you do.
Yeah. So you hear about those 64-ounce steaks.
You don't eat those.
My
That is
sister,
not good for anyone.
my sister is thin as a rail, but she can eat like a horse. I mean, she can eat like one of she had ordered this gigantic steak and eggs and this giant biscuit, right? And this was when Keenan was little, and his eyes got really big. Aunt Angel can't eat all that. And I was like, yes, she can. And she's thin as a rail. She's literally thin as a rail and can eat like a horse.
I remember
Not
those
that.
days. I used to be skinny as a rail. My husband called me bony butt. And I could, when it was time to eat, I could eat pretty good. I thought.
Yeah, and in school they were always feeding her because they thought Mom wasn't feeding us because she was always so skinny, so the school would always give her lots of food, but I mean, it never fattened her up. Not ever.
Okay. Well, if there's no more questions about any of this, I think we're gonna wrap it up for today and get ready to pack the shoe boxes. Let's close with a word of prayer. Our gracious Heavenly Father, I just want to thank you for this discussion that we've been able to have. And Lord, I just pray that you'll help us to remember that you do everything in balance, and we need to remember that when we're doing things too, whether it's eating or whatever we're doing, you have a balance in everything out there, and that we remember this. And when we get ready for the feasting, remember you have also said that we're not supposed to be gluttons and not to take anything to the extreme. And so Lord, I just pray that you will help us to take away something today that can help us to remember how you would have us to eat and to live, and what we should do or not do for our systems. And I just thank you for all these things. In Jesus' name, amen.